Dive in the deep end, it's time to defend your movie.
Hello, friends, and welcome to this week's episode of Defending Your Movie. I am your host, Jeremy Meyer. Sorry if my voice is a little raspy, a little rough on this intro. As I am recording this, I am either having a cold or a sinus infection. I'm not really sure which. But either way, last night, my throat, I think I was snoring all night because I couldn't breathe properly. And my throat is like literally on fire and, having some sinus issues. So I apologize if this intro is a little rough, but, the show must go on. But we're coming into October, and, this is actually one I've been excited about because this month, the movie that I was the most excited for, which I think it was actually supposed to come out last year at this point. The way things have been moved, I can't even keep track. But the new James Bond movie, No Time to Die, is actually finally coming out this month, October 8th. And, it was the movie I was most excited for, and I kept getting pushed back and pushed back. I'm a massive James Bond fan, as well as my guest, Allen Kesinger, who has already been a guest multiple times on the show. But I thought it'd be fun to bookmark this month with two James Bond movies, because, so as I said, I was a massive fan of the James Bond franchise, but it wasn't always the case. About 3 years ago, I hadn't even seen all of the movies, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to marathon all the movies. And at the time, I was writing on a personal blog a lot, like a movie blog, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to review every Bond movie as I watch it and post it on the blog. And Alan, he was a Bond fan, and he saw what I was doing. He was super interested in my thoughts, so he was following the reviews, and there were two specific Bond movies that we ended up coming to opposite feelings about. And the first one is this week's episode, which is the fifth Bond movie, Thunderball. I was not a big fan of Thunderball when I first watched it, and Alan was a big fan. And to kind of give you a heads up of what the end of the month is looking at, because we're going to do one at the beginning of the month, one at the end of the month. The other movie is Diamonds Are Forever. Going into that one, Alan was not a fan, and he was telling me, it's one that wasn't for me, and I came out loving that one, and it was always just kind of funny, our kind of opposite feelings on it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at both of these films and kind of give each one of us a chance to reevaluate the movie and see how we feel about it now, kind of looking at it through a different light. But I just figured we would go in release order. So first of all, we are going to talk about Thunderball, which is not Connery's last Bond movie, but definitely kind of trailing off for him. You can tell a little bit because he did one more after this, and then it was George Lazenby for one movie, and then he came back for Diamonds Are Forever. So I think it's going to be a fun little comparison just for Connery between the two. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. But before we do that, let's get all of our plugs out of the way. As always, you can follow us on social media at Defending Movie on Twitter and Instagram. I never really mentioned it, but we also have a Facebook page. So you can find us on Facebook at Defending Your Movie. We have a merch store at belowthecollar.com/Defending Your Movie. Get some t-shirts. I'm working on getting some other kind of merch in there, like some stickers, maybe a mug. So keep your eyes open for that. You can also find us at Patreon at patreon.com/defendingmovie. Also, don't forget we are partnered up with The Cryptic Closet, horror-themed t-shirts and merchandise, parody shirts and stuff. So use promo code DEFEND at checkout and get 21% off your entire order. That is thecrypticcloset.com. And without further ado, let's get into Thunderball. It might be about like 5 years ago at this point. I am not sure how long it was, but I was going through and watching the James Bond movies all for the first time. And you were kind of following along because I was like writing these blogs or whatever.
Yes.
And I remember you were so excited when I came to Thunderball because you're like, "Oh, I really like Thunderball. I can't wait to hear what you say about that one." And I came out of it and I was like, "That was not good. That was very boring." And we had the opposite reaction on Diamonds Are Forever, where you're like, "Oh, not a big fan," and I was like, "I loved Diamonds Are Forever," and I still do. So we kind of kicked around the idea of, I wanted to cover some Bond movies, and I was like, "Oh, well, why don't we revisit these movies?" And going in order, it makes sense to do Thunderball first. So I rewatched Thunderball, and I am happy to report I did like it a little more this time around.
I knew you'd see the light.
I still think it's my least favorite Connery Bond movie, and I think the biggest problem with Thunderball is its editing. I think there is a great movie here, and like a different edit of this movie could have made it one of Connery's better films. But I am curious, like, what is it about this one that like you love so much?
To me, Thunderball is like the phrase quintessential gets thrown around a lot. And see, the thing is previously was Goldfinger. And I think that's when the Bond movies kind of really hit a stride. Like it kind of got.
That's usually the one that people point out as like, hey, if you want to know what this franchise is, watch Goldfinger.
Yeah. But Thunderball for me is like the quintessential James Bond adventure because it's got everything in the checklist. It's got a beautiful location. It's set in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And once you kind of get through like the first act where Bond is just kind of hanging out at this like wellness clinic or whatever, and the story proper kind of kicks in. It's the perfect Bond setting, and it's for as kind of cartoony Goldfinger is. I feel like in a way this one's kind of just dialed back just a teeny bit. Like it's the Goldfinger is this larger than life character. Whereas like Largo is a little bit more low key. And it's really a movie where like the setting takes pride, like it's the real star of the show. But then we also get a fantastic villainous character who
are you referring to Fiona Velope?
Yeah, Luciana Paluzzi. She is gorgeous.
She is amazing in this movie.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite lined readings of all time where she's just like, "Oh, Mr. Bond, James Bond," like just the way, which I think actually a lot of the actresses in this era were all dubbed over. Like that was really common in the early Bond movies, so I'm not even sure if that's her voice.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, it's just this movie is just so chill to watch, and I think what's really funny too is, these days we're so used to like huge bombastic final confrontations with like there are like dozens of people involved and explosions are going off, and God, just the portal sequence from Endgame brings to mind just like how crazy and over the top some of these like battle sequences are. And then for Thunderball, it's completely underwater. It's silly, but it's also just like in the 60s, this was probably blowing people's minds to have this like 20-minute sequence of just underwater combat with harpoon guns and people like, hey, what's the best way to debilitate the enemy instead of like stabbing them and whatnot? You just pull their masks off, and it's like it's such a quaint but like wonderfully entertaining action sequence.
Yeah, I do like pulling off masks and cutting air tubes is like just another way to incapacitate your enemy. But like you said, it's 20 minutes and it's underwater and everybody's moving so slow.
Things move slow underwater.
Yeah, and that, like I said, this is something I think a better edit could have made this one of the better Bond films. So I do agree with you that like my favorite Bond movies, especially of the Connery era, are the more low-key spy movies. From Russia with Love is like not only one of my favorite Connery Bonds, but it's one of my favorite Bond movies. Like it's in my top 5.
Same.
And Goldfinger, it is a very big movie. Like the end of that movie is them storming Fort Knox or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I like a lot of the like slower, quieter moments in that movie.
And that's certain. It's probably because again, it's like coming off of Goldfinger, where it's so totally different from Dr. No and from Russia with Love. It's got some camp. It's kind of like it's developing its personality, and it's such a strong entry, especially in the Connery era. But and that's again, it's like going from Age of Ultron to Ant-Man. There's this transition between two completely different films, and with the stakes being so great and so high in Goldfinger, and not to say that they aren't in Thunderball, but just again thematically and tonally, it's a much more laid back and very comfortable, very very like if this were a book, it would be a beach read.
Yeah, and I have been on a quest to acquire all of the original Ian Fleming James Bond novels.
And of course that for the listener, yes, that was a joke because I know they were all books.
Yeah, and like my thing is I've been trying to find specific editions of them. Like I'm trying to get all the matching covers, and I already had like the Casino Royale was like my first one. I've had that one for a while, so. But the problem is they re-released them all like a few years back with like these white and black kind of plain covers, and I'm really trying to find the same ones. And Thunderball, I don't think I have that one yet. I do want to. Which are you aware of like the history of how this one came to be? With
no.
Kevin McClory and all that business. Okay, so Thunderball originally, Ian Fleming was like, "Hey, I want to make a James Bond movie." And he approached this guy, Kevin McClory, who was ended up being the producer on this. And this is before Dr. No even happened. They came up with a James Bond story that eventually became Thunderball. And then there was like, I was actually reading a little bit more about this because I've heard different versions of the story. But essentially, Ian Fleming kind of like screwed them out of the project.
Right. Okay. And that's what led to Never Say Never Again, right?
Exactly. So he eventually released, like, the movie ended up not happening, but then he wanted to put out a new James Bond book. So he's like, I got this story, Thunderball, by Ian Fleming only. And he didn't credit the other two guys that helped him write the story. Right. So this dude ended up suing. He ends up winning because he helped come up with the story. So he got the rights to use those characters in another movie, but they made this movie, and that locked up the rights for like 10 years, and they assumed after 10 years he kind of wouldn't care anymore, but once it was over, he went and made Never Say Never Again. And then that was meant to be like a whole new like franchise with Sony or whatever it was at the time. But yeah, it's always been like the fascinating behind-the-scenes story of this movie.
For real, yeah. And it's one of those... It's one of those things, like, it Never Say Never Again is this weird outlier. Like, it never, in a lot of lists, like James Bond lists, it never comes up because it's not a lot of people recognize it as a James Bond movie. And honestly, I don't, because we already got the perfect version.
See, I really like Never Say Never Again.
But no, it's weird, and it just goes to show how weird Hollywood can get.
Yeah, and it actually released the same, I think, month as Octopussy did. So it was like dueling Bonds in the theater, and Octopussy was the one that won, you know?
Yeah. Which is interesting. You would think that having Sean Connery in a Bond-like adventure would bring people out, but
and that's true.
I guess people really want Octopussy. That was the one with Christopher Walken, right?
No, that was A View to a Kill.
That's right. Yeah, I always get those two mixed up.
Octopussy's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And Never Say Never Again like made money. Like, so I just looked. Never Say Never Again made 160 million, and Octopussy made like 180. So like they weren't even that far off. And you know they both had like $20-30 million budgets. So
nice. And like another point for Thunderball is that because I mean you can't talk about a James Bond movie without the title sequence, which has just become such an iconic staple franchise. Definitely one of the best. Tom Jones kills it in a theme song that is like both like epic and also like something you would hear in Vegas in a Vegas show. But like of all like the stable of singers that this franchise has collected, like I swear it is definitely one of the best. Definitely within my top 5 title sequences. But yeah, Tom Jones absolutely kills it.
Have you heard the Johnny Cash song?
No.
So Johnny Cash submitted a song for this movie, and you can look it up on YouTube. It is just Thunderball by Johnny Cash, and it is awesome.
Oh my god.
And so, there's a whole history of unused songs in like the Bond franchise. I think what was the second Tomorrow Never Dies has like the most, because I think they put out a thing of like, hey, just submit us music, and like a bunch of people submitted songs. So you can find a lot for Tomorrow Never Dies. But there's a whole list of just unused Bond songs. Wow. And yeah, Johnny Cash's Thunderball. Like, the Tom Jones song is good. It's not as high up for me as it is for you, but I wish we got the Johnny Cash one.
I'm going to have to listen to it right when we finish.
Yeah, it's really good. I do think there's like some lyrically weird moments in the Tom Jones one. Like, it's a good sounding song, but these lyrics, I'm like, what is he saying? Like, he always runs instead of walks. Like, it's just like, I'm not really sure what he's saying here.
Right. This movie has such a warm spot in my heart. I think it's got just a lot of Bond moments. I mean, like when it's when he's not like doing Bond shit, like there's the prerequisite card game sequence. There's just these stunning vistas of the Bahamas. It's really good. And again, I love Fiona in this movie so much.
She is wonderful.
Of all the Bond villainesses, even when you put Xenia on a top and play, I think Fiona is just the best.
Yeah, I would agree with that. She is really good. Domino doesn't really do much for like her character.
Yeah. Yep. And it's funny because even when I watch this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. There's this other character because she's the sister of the the big Spectre plot is that they are going to try and steal nuclear missiles or whatnot, because of course it's what they do. And
there's a lot of elements to them stealing these missiles.
Right. And yeah, it's nothing's ever so simple. So they get a guy to like surgically alter, they do a face off in all but name. And it's this very big elaborate plan. And I really think that Domino is just she seems kind of like forced in there. Like they needed to have, in order to make it all work, they had to have in like a relation. And then also, this is a Bond movie, so Sean Connery has to just seduce somebody.
And he does.
Yeah.
This might have like the most women he beds in like these early movies. There's at least 3 that I can think of.
You know what? It's interesting. I happen upon a Wikipedia page and I'm looking at the cast, and it says Claudine Auger played Domino, but her voice was dubbed.
Yeah.
Fiona though was not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like really common with like most of the Bond women, and maybe it was just like the main ones.
Oh, even Emilio Largo, his voice was dubbed.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that kind of doesn't sound like the way that dude would sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, yeah, so the first time I watched this, I was not super big on Largo, and I think there is some issues with, as I was saying, the editing that I think could kind of make him better. But this time around, I did kind of like him a little more. Mm-hmm. I will say, you know, in the ever-growing debate between Thunderball and Never Say Never Again, I like that Largo better just because that actor plays him a little creepier and like more memorable. This dude is very like stiff and just kind of matter of fact.
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes in this movie, and it kind of just to establish the character, but also kind of makes you think about the Spectre organization as a whole, is at the beginning where Largo has the big meeting with Blofeld, and they've got like the big conference table, and one of the goons is like, you know, is accused of something, I forget.
I think he didn't pull in enough money or something.
Yeah, and they just straight up fry him in his chair, and Largo's just like, floating through my paper, like doesn't even give a care in the world. You know, just shows that this is like a big tough guy, but also kind of makes you think that maybe this is the equivalent of being on Darth Vader's flagship. You know, everybody knows that someone's going to die and get promoted, so they're just so used to it.
I think there's also a scene later, which is like a running trend with Spectre, is they don't always kill the person who failed, but kill the person next to them as like a warning. Yeah. And it's like, why are you doing
I'm just thinking of that scene from Russia with Love, right when you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know they do it in You Only Live Twice as well, but I think there might be one in this one, like kind of towards later in the movie. I can't remember. But it's such a bizarre tactic.
It is, yeah. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. This just seems like a premium Bond experience. You know, like I said, the setting is gorgeous. You know, the costumes are great. The Bahamian kind of wardrobe shift that goes on is awesome. And of course, you know, we get Q with some more gadgets.
Q out in the field too, which you don't get very often.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just so good.
Yeah, there's definitely some good like spy stuff. One of my biggest like complaints about it is Largo and Bond clearly know who each other are for way too long, like before they're actually doing anything about it. And it's kind of just like, why is this going on so long? Like, why are they toying with each other this much when somebody should be making a move here?
Right.
I mean, to the point where like Bond even goes in his cabin and finds somebody waiting there for him and just kind of like sends him on his way. And then like later him and Largo meet each other and it's like, oh, I believe you know this guy. And he's like, oh yeah, we met. Like, I'm just like, why are we playing nice at this point?
Right.
I think one of the biggest egregious moments of this is when Bond is taking pictures underneath his boat and they clearly see it's him. Like at that point, I feel like gloves should be off. But
right.
There's still a little more like cat and mouse games with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, I think a different edit of this movie could be great. And like just rearranging some of those scenes. Like this movie, I think is just over 2 hours. And I feel like it just could have been a really good hour and a half, hour 45. And just maybe cut a little bit of that runtime, rearrange some of these scenes, and I think it would play a lot better. To the point where I think I'm actually going to attempt it. I've been messing around with the movie editing recently, and I might start toying with this one a little bit.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. That'd be cool. Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard for me to... Like this Bond movie is like of the Bond movies, this is one of them that I consider to be like comfort food.
Yeah.
No, I've always I've always loved this one, and I just think it just kind of, again, now it coming kind of into its own. Like I look at Doctor No, and it's sort of the same sort of thing. You know, it takes place in an exotic location, and but it just doesn't hit right. I think because I think with Doctor No, they're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah,
you know,
Doctor No,
well before they probably assumed that this was ever going to be a franchise. But when by the time we get to Thunderball, because after this is You Only Live Twice, right?
Yeah.
And then that's it for Sean Connery. So this certainly feels...
he does, because then he comes back to Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah. But as far as like the initial set of films, this was like his penultimate one.
Yeah.
And I think it gets a lot of things... right. It gets a lot of its tone right.
It definitely feels like when you're watching it that they're kind of in the groove of this one. It's like, oh, they know what they're doing and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
They have the money now.
Yeah, and I think this is definitely Goldfinger is fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but I think for me, Thunderball is kind of like, as far as the initial Connery era, it is the high watermark.
That is a bold statement, because From Russia with Love is sitting right there.
Right, and like I love From Russia with Love. Don't get me wrong, I love these movies for as silly and definitely outdated as they are. But yeah, no, when it comes to having to pick a favorite, like it's a real huge toss up between Goldfinger and this.
Was this like one of the, like, I don't know how you came to these movies, like if you saw them young, like was this one of the first ones you had seen maybe?
The first one, I think the first one that I had seen was Goldfinger.
Okay.
And then that kind of, because it was around the time, I started like devouring these around the time GoldenEye came out, because that was like the first time like James Bond had like entered into my consciousness, and like, you know, my parents around me would be like, oh yeah, no, it was this and this and this and this, and my dad is a huge fan of Goldfinger. And so because of GoldenEye, because I think because GoldenEye was 93, 94?
95, I believe.
95, and then because before that then was License to Kill, so there was I want to say was there a sizable gap?
Yeah, because of the License to Kill and GoldenEye, there was like I think a 5-year gap or something. Because I think it was 89 when Batman came out, and like Lethal Weapon. It was like, you know, the summer of 89, and License to Kill underperformed, so there was like a long break. And Dalton was supposed to actually be in GoldenEye, but because of the break, he stepped away.
Yeah. And I know that they originally wanted Pierce Brosnan for Living Daylights and License to Kill, but he was doing Remington Steele.
Yeah, and the rumor was he was literally walking out the door to accept the Bond deal when he got the phone call of like, "Hey, we're doing more Remington Steele," so he contractually was obligated to not do it.
So like GoldenEye came out, it was like James Bond back in the public consciousness again, and be like, okay, I'll follow up on this, and that was the time they were kind of re-releasing video cassettes
world
of all of the films, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be that guy and get all of these. And that's kind of what kind of set me off on really watching these films and like really kind of getting into them. So, but yeah, my first ever was Goldfinger. And then again, when I first saw this, I loved it. Like it was definitely, easily one of my favorites just based on the first viewing.
You know, I honestly don't know what my first one was. I saw bits and pieces so I never saw a Connery Bond until I did the marathon. Like, I saw bits and pieces of them, but I think I saw bits and pieces of Goldfinger. But I had never seen a whole one. And I always think maybe Tomorrow Never Dies was my first one, because I think I saw Goldeneye, like, way after the fact. And then Tomorrow Never Dies up to Die Another Day. I saw all those when they came out. Yeah. But, and then the Daniel Craig ones I came to actually way later as well. Like, I didn't even know those were Bond movies for a long time. Just because like
they certainly set themselves apart.
Yeah, but like it was one of those things where like I wasn't following that franchise, and like I was like, oh yeah, I like Bond movies and Bond video games and stuff, and then I kept seeing Casino Royale in like the stores, and I didn't know what it was. It was just the cover kept grabbing my attention. I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I found out it was a Bond movie, and I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna check this out. And then I did Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace like back to back. And then it was after that I went and did the marathon of all the older ones. And so like I do think Thunderball, like watching it in a marathon is maybe not the way to do it.
Right.
There's a couple,
especially, and I'm going to break some hearts here. There's no way I can straight marathon the Roger Moore movies. I need to take
absolutely not.
Substantial breaks because those movies are, I don't want to say awful.
They're not awful. They are,
but
they are a thing.
They cause discomfort. They
Wow.
they cause secondhand embarrassment.
Oh, not a Roger Moore fan. Huh?
I'm not. No, absolutely not. I think his movies just got campy as shit. But the only one I will power through is Man with a Golden Gun, just because it's Christopher Lee, and I think it's a fantastic concept.
That is a good one. I am surprised. I honestly thought your answer was going to be The Spy Who Loved Me, because that one is a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. I'm not the biggest Roger Moore fan. I think some of those ones are okay, but I think most of them are skippable. And honestly, I wanted more Tim Dalton.
Yeah, me too. I love Timothy Dalton, and I think he was a great Bond.
Yeah, like,
Living Daylights is also one of my favorites.
It's great. It's a little convoluted, but it's really fun. And License to Kill is a little bizarre. Like I could definitely see Dalton in GoldenEye, and it would not hurt my enjoyment of that movie at all. As much as I love Brosnan in that. But like Connery, it's like, there's a few of these movies, I think, by nature of watching them in a marathon, because when I was doing it, it was like one every 2 days, I think, because it would take me, I was watching them on the train mostly on my commute to work, so I'd watch it on the way to work, on the way home from work, and then I'd usually wrap it up either the next day and then jump into the next one, or I would wrap it up that night and jump into the next one. So like there's a few, I think it was For Your Eyes Only, which is a Roger Moore one that a lot of people like I was like, by the time I hit that one, I was just like, this is exactly the same plot as like 4 other Bond movies, and I'm just not feeling it. But I think like Thunderball, I think outside of a marathon they shine a little better, and that was pretty much how I felt. Here it was like, watching it on its own, I see more of the appeal. And that I was kind of lost on me the first time, because I think kind of marathoning it, you have all these long underwater sequences, and I'm just sitting there watching it just like, oh my god, like when does this end? And I do think some of those scenes do need to be trimmed down a little bit, but they use the same music when they're underwater as well, so it just becomes this weird monotonous like motion.
Because John Barry had all these themes that were developed during like the Connery stuff that ended up just kind of getting reused because these are themes. Yeah, but it's just no matter all the things that they do, it's just like it's just dull. I mean, it can be dull. I completely agree. I mean, and it takes a certain something to be able to like make something that could be dull, like an underwater fight, or more specifically, if we're talking Casino Royale, a freaking card tournament. It takes a certain someone who can really do something with that and really kind of like have an eye for the scene, because like for as silly as it is, like the whole point of Casino Royale is for Bond to participate in a card game, but how they did it in the Daniel Craig Casino Royale, like throwing in elements that it was like one of his first early missions, and just like how those sequences are shot and planned out. I mean, you can make that stuff interesting. Yeah.
And it is worth pointing out that this one actually is the same director as Dr. No and From Russia with Love. He did 3 movies. He didn't do Goldfinger. I can't remember who did Goldfinger. It's been a while since I've watched that one. But Yeah, there are three major underwater sequences in this movie, and not that there are only three underwater scenes, just three big ones. There's the ones where they're hiding the bombs, the big battle towards the end, and the one where they're like hiding the missiles and Bond is like sneaking with them. And those all kind of go on for like a really long time, and they all use the same music, except the final battle sequence does use the kind of what is it, the James Bond theme, I think it's called, which, you know, not the 007 theme, the James Bond. There are different songs, but yeah, that is kind of the action theme that gets used many times in the early movies. Which I think it'd be fun if somebody doing a score now tried to replicate that for like a fight scene and modernize it.
Well, and that was one of the cool. I think it was Skyfall that Sam
Mendes.
Oh
no!
well,
you're talking about the theme song.
Title song.
Oh,
yeah,
that was Sam Smith was Spectre.
Spectre, okay. I like that because of the modern Bonds. That one is the most John Barry-ass
I like
Bond
that
music.
Song. Like,
I love it. Yeah, it's
people
fantastic.
Hate that song, and I don't get it.
Well, those people are wrong because they suck.
I mean, I love Adele's. Like, I think Skyfall is one of the best Bond songs, but I really enjoy Sam Smith's Spectre song. It had to grow on me, I will say. Like,
for me, it was love at first hear, just because that like opening bit is so John Barry, and I think John Barry's Bond scores are so good.
They are, and like, so that was something I did notice this time around, is the music in this movie is really good when they're kind of just doing the sneaking around bits. It's also the first time I watched this movie in headphones, and like generally when I do that like really the music stands out a lot more. Because, you know, I was actually watching this like at work, and my wife actually just got me some AirPods, so I was like, oh, well, I can just like wear these and watch the movie as I'm like printing and stuff. And like the music was really standing out to me this time. I was like, oh, the score here is very good. It's because like it has this the tone of this movie, like even though they're in the Bahamas, it's kind of a dark tone. Because it's like, oh, this secret organization and Largo and like, you know, they have stolen nuclear bombs. It's like a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always this like lingering danger in the tone of the movie, and the score really amplifies that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just those underwater scenes where it's the same music every time. It's like, all right, mix this up, please.
Yeah. Gosh, I looked up John Barry here, and just he did a lot more scores than I initially thought.
Specifically for Bond, or just in general?
Yeah, for Bond. Yeah,
yeah. He was on it for a long time.
I thought he stopped just around the Connery stuff, but no, he did. You Only Live Twice, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Diamonds Are Forever, Man with a Golden Gun, Moonraker, Octopussy, A View to a Kill, and The Living Daylights. That was the last one.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot. And a lot of those are really good ones, like noticeable ones. And, you know, one thing they always did, and I think they still do this to this day, is they incorporate the main theme song into the score a lot.
Yes.
And, yeah, I want to say even up to Skyfall and all that stuff, they're still doing that.
It's funny because it makes me think there's more nuance now to the soundtracks, because what's really funny is you go back to Dr. No, and it's pretty much the James Bond theme all day, every day.
Yeah, and they use it like kind of for anything. Like I think there's a scene where he's just checking into a hotel, and that theme is just playing.
Thinking that. Yeah, it's like ba-da. It's like, I'd like to check into my room, please.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god!
And then he just walks around the room, like checking out the room.
Super silly. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's fun. I'm trying to think. Like, was there a major use of the Bond theme in Thunderball? I know at the very end, like when they cut to credits, they're playing it.
Yeah, they blast it when they like where the ending basically turns into a sequence from Metal Gear Solid 5 where they use the Fulton balloon to, you know, they play it for that, of course, and to lead into the credits. But oh gosh, yeah,
I think it's used pretty sparingly here.
Yeah.
I can't believe we've gotten this far in and haven't talked about the like cold opening of this movie.
Oh yeah, well yeah,
Which is maybe one of the most bizarre scenes in the movie. Because it starts with like what I believe is supposed to be a fake out where they're showing a coffin that says JB on it, and you're supposed to be like, oh, James Bond, is he in there? But then they just immediately like pan up, and Bond is sitting there talking to a woman who's like, oh, JB, that's your initials. It's like, oh yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
And then he just slugs her.
Yeah.
Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. She is actually a he, and they. Like, and doesn't he just like straight up murder the dude?
Yeah, it's like, oh, this dude is thought to be dead, but he's actually disguising himself as a woman and attending his own funeral. And the way Bond finds out is because he opens the door himself to a car and like doesn't let the person open it for him. And they just have this like really bizarre fight in this like locked room. And there's a lot of speed ramping in this movie. Like Bond slides a chair across the room and they speed it up to make it look like he, you know, like a superhero threw it across the room and hit this dude.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I think he just ends up like hitting. I can't remember if he hits something, falls on him, or he like pushes something on him or something. But yeah, he 1,000% just murders the guy and then throws flowers on him or whatever. Yeah,
and then heads off to his. We see the little bit with the car. Or no, because he uses the jetpack.
The jetpack.
We get. Which safety first, got to put on the helmet.
Yeah, that whole scene is like you really needed a jetpack for this. Like you couldn't find a quicker way down the building.
Like I understand it because it looks cool.
Yeah,
but like more behind the scenes stuff, it's funny because like the stuntman like was like, I will absolutely refuse to do this unless I'm wearing a helmet. And they were like, no, but he's James Bond. He doesn't need a helmet. It's like, I'm not doing this without a helmet.
Yeah.
And so, like, as goofy as it is, you know, again, there's a story behind everything.
Yeah.
But, he just, like, goes down to his jetpacks down to his car, and his car starts murdering people, too, and then,
Which,
it's a good time.
Yeah, the cars are shooting water, and you can clearly see, like, a guy who's, like, not getting hit by the water just step into the water.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so goofy. Like, I just find myself laughing at it.
Yeah.
It is one of the weirder cold opens of maybe the entire franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuntman reminds me, there's another point in the franchise where a stuntman was just like, yeah, no. Which was when they flipped to the car in, what was it, The Man with the Golden Gun? When they do that stunt where it ramps off and like spins midair. I guess they asked the stuntman if he could do it again because they wanted to get like another angle. He just looked at it, was like, no. He's like, that's what you get.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, like I can fully understand why this one could be the one for you. Mm-hmm. I do enjoy not Mardi Gras, but they're having like some festival or whatever.
The Junka. Hold on, I gotta find this. Hold on, I have the page up here.
Junkanu.
Junkanoo, yes.
Yeah, so as Bond is running away, he jumps into this like Junkanoo parade or whatever, so it's a street parade. And
like I love that, and like it has one of that real suspenseful scene too, where he's with Fiona, and like he notices like there's an assassin there who's going to kill him, and he does the sort of last minute like.
Turns her into the gunshot.
Yeah. That's a real good scene. And then, of course, we have to have the Bond quip where she said, "Oh, she's just dead."
Say she's dead tired or something like that. Or
yeah.
Like just so nonchalant to murder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which there's a lot of Connery like smoothness in this one. Which I think comes from the fact that he does bed multiple women throughout the course of this one.
Yeah.
Because there's the woman at the center in the beginning as well. What is it, like a spa or whatever?
Yeah, it's like he's going there for he got injured on a previous mission. Is there just going to
Like get
It's
tested
just like
and rest up.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. It's basically physical therapy.
Yeah.
And
and he kind of just stumbles onto this case.
yes, yeah, because the dude who got the face-off surgery is recovering there as well.
Yeah, which also a good moment where so this guy gets his face surgically made to look exactly like this other dude, and then he extorts them for more money.
Right.
Because he's like, hey, I'm
you don't.
the only one who could do this. Like, you couldn't possibly get it. So and they're like, all right, fair enough. Like, we respect that. Which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, but also, look what happens to them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they just end up killing him anyway.
yeah, exactly.
Spectre seems like a horrible organization to work for.
Yes, exactly. It's again, it's as well planned out and thought out as Vader ship, where everybody gets promoted.
Yeah, it is the Amazon of our time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's like, yeah, do you really want to work here?
Yeah.
Yeah. This also does have I guess what would be the first appearance of Blofeld, like physical appearance. You don't technically see his face
from the. No, don't you see him from neck down? Don't you see him in From Russia with Love?
Do you? I don't remember. I mean, that gives me an excuse to watch From Russia with Love again.
There you go. Yeah, but yeah, it's certainly if not then certainly yes. This was because that's the other thing too. That's the funny thing about Goldfinger is that it's not a Spectre plot. It's just kind of him acting on his own.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So we did get a little bit of a break from that, but yeah. So it would kind of make sense that. I mean, it'd be interesting to know if they had planned. Had planned these movies, because From Russia with Love, they actually show Blofeld. They actually had we get to see his face finally, and then, then we see the character again, and where Bond basically murders the hell out of him after On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Well, you're talking about On Her Majesty's
in Diamonds Are Forever. Yeah, at the beginning of it. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, Blofeld gets quote unquote killed. I think 3 times in this franchise.
Yeah.
Because technically, Diamonds Are Forever, he's there at the end. He gets killed in that Roger Moore one, which is that For Your Eyes Only, I think, at the beginning, where they pick him up on the helicopter and drop him in the smokestack.
Yeah.
Which that was also due to the Kevin McClory story. That was the whole thing, because I think that was when they had started working on Never Say Never Again. And that was kind of the FU to McClory of we don't need Blofeld, whatever, go do your thing. But just such a weird way to open a movie.
It is, yeah.
And I also say, because I think his line is, I'll buy you a stainless steel delicatessen, I think is also a poke at Kevin McClory. I had heard. So I actually have this book, and I have yet to start reading it. But it's literally a history of the Bond movie franchise. Each chapter is another movie, and it just talks about the production and history of the movie. But I've actually never read it. I need to dig that out and start reading it.
Yeah,
this one, there's probably a lot of interesting stuff.
So, just kind of looking. I was looking at. For Your Eyes Only, and I'm having a bit of a moment here. Because I had no idea I was today years old that the screenplay for You Only Live Twice was written by Roald Dahl.
Which is who? What?
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh God, yeah, I did. I have heard this.
Crazy.
Because Ian Fleming wrote something for him. They traded something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I heard about this.
That's amazing.
I can't remember what it was, though. Yeah,
That's
okay.
amazing.
Yeah, there was some thing with them where yeah, I don't know. Ian Fleming wrote something for him, and he got to write something for Bond, is basically how it worked.
Mm-hmm. That's so funny. That's wild.
Yeah,
this franchise is wild.
I don't know if all the episodes are available because they might have went behind a premium paywall, but there was a podcast called James Bonding
that I got really into. That it's this guy Matt Gorley, who now works with Conan on Conan's podcast, and he has a friend named Matt Myra who was part of the Nerdist crew, and he's like a TV writer and stuff now. But they were both Bond fans, and they like when they met, so that was how they bonded. So they did a podcast called James Bonding, and they literally just watched all the movies and did episodes on them, and then they like flip-flopped order and then brought in guests and stuff. But unfortunately, a lot of the old episodes might be behind a paywall now. I'm not sure.
Sure.
But a lot of the stories I've been hearing about this have come from learning on that podcast.
Nice.
But yeah, that's where I heard that one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. One of my favorite deaths in this movie is like Blofeld, or not Blofeld. What is his name? Largo. His like right hand man that James just shoots with a spear gun on the beach.
Oh yeah, it's so nonchalant and like anticlimactic. I love it.
Yeah,
it's just like thunk, and then the guy, he just like harpoons him to a tree.
Yeah, and Domino doesn't seem to care that this guy was just murdered in front of him or in front of her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's ridiculous. These movies are wonderfully ridiculous.
Yeah. It walks this weird line of Goldfinger was really big and bombastic, and this one kind of tones it down a little bit, like you said, and it's trying to be both. It's trying to be a little silly, but also like be a little more grounded in the way that like a From Russia with Love is. And I just think the tones clash a little more than they probably should.
I understand. Yeah,
but I still think I do think it was better on a rewatch. It is just those underwater scenes and just kind of the pacing of the movie that I really butt heads with. Like, it is about 40 minutes into the movie before Bond gets his mission to go to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
I just think that would have been a lot quicker in any other version of the film.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna kick around like editing with this because like that's been my project for the last year. Like I did hey, let's make the Snyder cut less than 4 hours, and I made a 3-hour cut, and then I cut all of Falcon and Winter Soldier into a 3-hour movie. And I still need to actually go through and watch those and see if they're any good. But, see if I need to make any more adjustments. But I think just kind of trimming this one up a little bit could go a long way. Like get him to the Bahamas quicker, make those underwater scenes a little quicker. I do remember the first time I watched it, I was almost falling asleep during the underwater battle. This time, I was a lot more engaged.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it a lot more this time. Like I was more engaged during that fight, and it is kind of the Bond franchise has this, I don't know what you like, a tendency to, hey, this thing is popular or this technology is new, so we're going to cram it into a movie. A good example is The Spy Who Loved Me, where you see like a proto jet ski.
Yes.
Where he just like builds one out of a bag.
Yeah.
But this movie definitely felt like, hey, we have an underwater camera. What can we do with this?
We're gonna use the hell out of it.
And everything just gets there's the scene where they're hiding the bombs, and everything is just like, turn on the underwater landing lights, turn on or open the underwater hatch. Like they just keep adding underwater onto the name of everything.
Right.
Which Largo kind of becomes a fun villain in that sense, because it reminds me of like cartoons that would maybe like do a parody of a James Bond villain.
Yeah. Right down to the eye patch.
Yeah, and like, so I saw the Austin Powers movies long before I saw a lot of these old Bond movies, and like getting my mind blown that like, oh no, this is how it was. Like they're not stretching it that far.
Right.
Like they're just kind of commenting on or being more silly about it, but like, oh no, like there's a dude with an eye patch and a dude with a cat. Like I was kind of blown away by how much they literally just pulled from the movies.
Yeah.
And even just now as we're talking, I was today years old when I just realized number 2 in Largo was number 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were both the guys with the eye patch.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Interesting that he is dubbed. Because I actually think his voice is one of the stronger things about him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's... I think I need to give this one a few more watches. Like, I could definitely see, like... Because when I marathoned the franchise, I was like, oh, there are 2 Bond movies I will never watch again unless I am forced to. And it was this one and Moonraker.
Oh, God.
See, I honestly did not know you were such, like, against the Roger Moore era. So it's nice.
I am.
It's nice that to actually have somebody to agree with me on Moonraker.
Like, I'm completely fine without having to watch those. Like, if I don't need to watch the Roger Moore ones just because I find them to be obnoxious.
It's really just his first 3 for me. Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, and The Spy Who Loved Me. Like, those are the only 3. I think Octopussy is kind of fun. Mostly because there's, like, some really fun side characters in that movie. But The Spy Who Loved Me is kind of the only Roger Moore movie where I'm like, oh, no, this is a great movie. The others are just kind of there.
Again, I'm willing to give Man with the Golden Gun a pass, but that's like... That still takes a lot of work to watch. there are parts of that movie that are just absolutely ridiculous. And, like, by design, I feel. But again, Christopher Lee, and it's a really... I think, as far as villains go, I think it's a really good concept. But, yeah, ouch.
Yeah. Also, what is Hervé Villechaize as his little buddy Knick-Knack?
Yeah.
Which I think, like, the first line in that movie is just Christopher Lee yelling, Knick-Knack, Tabasco!
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's fun. I do like Golden Gun. Thunderball, you know, it's fine. I was a little harsh on it my first time.
It's just like the best Bond movies. It's entertaining.
Yeah, I do think the first time I was just more bored by it because I was like, well, this is my 4th one in like a week, you know. But I think this time around I did really enjoy it. I do think my complaints are valid. That, like, hey, you know, let's speed this along. You know, it's kind of the biggest complaint there. But you know, you still get all your your money pennies, your M's.
Yeah. You get the staples.
Yeah. You know, when he walks in and goes, what does he throw his hat on and then his hat's gone?
He tries to like throw the hat on the hat rack, but it's like the hat rack moved or something.
Yeah,
like the office got rearranged.
Because that's like a running gag in like the first few movies.
And he's visibly upset.
Yeah,
I like
he walks in. I think it's right by the door now, so he's just like, oh, I don't get to throw it. He just like puts it on the rack. But one thing I didn't understand is he goes to leave and the hat is gone, and I didn't understand that.
That might have been a continuity error.
Yeah, but they make a comment about it because he's like, I thought I came in here with a hat, and Moneypenny just kind of brushes it off. I'm like, I feel like there's an inside joke there that I just didn't get.
Maybe Moneypenny stole it so she can add it to like the James Bond like dummy she's building back at home.
Yeah, Louis Maxwell, I love her as Moneypenny, but there's definitely a feeling of she loves him way more than he cares about her.
Yeah. Lois Maxwell's the best.
Yeah, I actually...
Best Moneypenny.
What was the ex? Was it Samantha Bond who was for Pierce Brosnan?
I think so.
I actually really enjoyed her. Like, Louis Maxwell definitely has the tenure, and, you know, she did it for so long.
Yeah.
And then the current version, also very good. But I was always a big Samantha Bond fan.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
But any closing thoughts on Thunderball?
No, it's just again, this is, as far as Bond movies goes, this is a comfort food movie. It's the stakes are high, but the pace is slow.
Yeah. I guess this is maybe the biggest like stakes in a Bond movie up to this point, like nuclear weapons. I would say because I don't really remember. From Russia with Love is like getting like a spy coding machine or something.
Yeah, that like traditional spy stuff, and then like possible influence from Goldfinger, which theirs was to like set off a nuclear bomb in Fort Knox.
Yeah, to irradiate the gold. What was Dr. No's? Well, his was
Dr. No. He was oh god, because there's that whole sequence where they're in the underwater lair, and he's got his radiation suit on. But like, wasn't that the whole thing? The whole island was radioactive.
I think so. Yeah, Dr. No is the one that has escaped my memory the most. I've only seen it once.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times, and it's usually begrudgingly.
Yeah,
because it's just it's dated.
Okay, on the Wikipedia it says he's plotting to disrupt an early American space launch with a radio beam weapon.
Yes. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say this is a bigger deal because they're like, hey, we're gonna nuke a couple cities for money.
Yeah. But yeah, Dr. No does not age well. But yeah, no, Thunderball's great. Beautiful setting, great villainous.
Good
Tom Jones.
Good music. Great music.
Good music. Yeah. But yeah, that is my love for Thunderball.
And yeah, one of the best femme fatales in the whole franchise,
Yes.
Fiona Volpe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, can't be replaced.
I watched these movies maybe when I was like Goldfinger, so like 14, maybe 15, had the huge crush on her.
Oh, I have a huge crush on her now. That has not gone away. There's just something so charming about the way she talks. Like, on top of being like, oh yeah, she's a very beautiful woman, but like, yeah, she's something about the way she speaks just speaks to me.
Yeah.
But all right, man, it was fun.
All right.
Revisiting Thunderball, and
Yeah, for sure.
I think we did promise we're going to reconvene for the other side of this conversation, and we're going to visit one of my favorite ones, which is Diamonds Are Forever. James Bond will return.
Only because I promised. I keep my promises.
It's a silly movie, and you just got to just got to accept it. But
I mean, well, I don't want to. I will save material for that discussion.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to rewatch it. I think I've only seen that one the one time, so maybe on a rewatch I'll like it less. But I don't know. I think it's kind of fun. But yeah, we'll figure that one out, and
yeah,
we'll see everyone next time for our next James Bond discussion.
Sounds good.
All right, well, I'll talk to you later.
See you later.